So we went to the store in the middle of this coronavirus outbreak, and everybody took toilet paper, bread, cereals, and all this other random stuff. And I just wanted to get some sourdough. So we're camping in the middle of the bush in Australia, but I want to show you guys how to make and how easy it is to make sourdough. Now, we took some flour. We got a starter from this random bakery in Bermagui that I've been upkeeping and on the road, and then we've got some filtered water that I just used my Brita filter, put it in a bowl. And the only thing other than that you need is just a scale to measure this. And what we're going to do is the Biga method. It's an Italian traditional method dated back centuries ago, and it made for very digestible bread. And for that reason is all the breads that you buy are not very digestible. They're terrible for your system. They wreak havoc. That's why all this outbreak of gluten-free this, gluten-free that, and it's not true. Wheat is good for you. It's just how you make it and how you process it. So we're going to process it the old traditional way, where it's actually digestible and good for you. We're going to make it very simple. We're going to use just 990 grams of flour, and this is like 60% white flour, 40% of whole wheat flour. And then we have 470 grams of water mixed in with the starter. So you want to mix in your starter already and just kind of mix it in before you add the flour. So once we add the flour to the water, we just mix with our hands, and you don't want to knead the biga. That's folded together like you would making a scone or a pie dough or something that's in that nature. It's just you don't want it to become a dough. Literally just folding in, picking it up, throwing it down, picking it up, throwing it down. And this whole process should take no more than a minute. So then all you do is just combine it till it looks like little strings. As you can see, like this. It hasn't become a dough yet. And put a damp cloth over it and cover it and let it sit out for about 14 to 16 hours in a cool environment, like inside your house. You probably have the AC going or something in your fancy place. We're out here in the bush, so we're just gonna leave it outside and wake up, and I'll let you know the next step. All right, good morning. We just went to bed and let the dough sit for about 14, 15 hours. And this is what it looks like. And so what we're gonna be doing to finish the recipe is we're gonna add some water. We're gonna add 235 ml of water, 10 grams of flour, and 20 grams of salt. Now, at this point, we're going to be mixing with our hands and kneading for about 5 to 6 minutes. So if you have like a machine at home, you can just let it knead for that amount of time. And the way to knead it is you just pick up one end and fold it over the other and just push down. Okay, so you start to see it come away from the sides of the bowl pretty easily. So when I pick it up, it just comes out. That's more or less when it's ready. This is the texture that you're looking for. And at this point, you can add any of the flavorings you want. You can add like rosemary, olives. You can even do like a dried mushroom bread, like a dried porcini bread, or you can do like a fig and walnut. It's also really good. Just get creative. But at this point, this is called the bulk fermentation. So again, we're gonna take our cloth, cover it, let it rest for about an hour and a half. We finished the bulk fermentation. It rose just a bit, which is a really good sign. That means it's working. We decided to divide the dough into 3 parts. One for the main dough, one for the main sourdough, which is gonna keep it simple and plain. The other one, we're gonna have fun. We got some cinnamon and raisins. We're gonna make a cinnamon raisin bread. And then I found some local salt bush just behind us in the beach, and I've chopped it up. So we're gonna make a bush style sourdough with fresh salt bush. You can make one large sourdough, or you can kind of divide it up, and that way you have, all your work is paid off and you have more than one bread to eat with. So now what we're gonna do is divide the dough. So I'm just gonna wet my hands with a bit of the filtered water, and I want roughly about 150 grams for the small ones. So once we divide the dough, we're gonna what's called pre-shape it. And the way it's done is use a bit of water, just like the sushi chefs use a bit of water to touch their sushi rice and make the rolls. We do the same thing with the dough because you don't want to add more flour to that. because that yeast is digesting the flour already. So the way pre-shaping is done is, since this is a round loaf, I'm gonna grab my bread and I'm kind of folding it in itself and creating a ball. And this is called pre-shaping. As you can see, the bread is becoming a lot less stickier and easier to work with. And that's the beauty of this bread. So now that it's pre-shaped, that's all the work there is to it. We're just gonna moisten the sides with a bit of water so it's easier to take out. We're gonna do the same thing with the other two and let it rest for another 30 minutes before we do the final proofing. This one, at this point, we can add our salt bush. So I can just add the ingredients now. Since this is a flatbread, it doesn't have to be in any particular shape. I'm just gonna make it a bit round. And next we have the cinnamon and raisin bread. And I've soaked the raisins already. So we're just gonna mix the cinnamon and raisins together. This is gonna be a nice sweet style bread. So now that we've pre-shaped the bread, we're just gonna cover it and let it rest for 30 minutes. Come back before we do the final proofing. Meanwhile, I'll get the fire going. Okay, we're back and let's look at our bread. We have a nice dough and we're gonna do the final shaping before we do the final proofing. This is the last stage before we actually bake the bread. Just wet your hands, we pick it up, release it from the sides, and then you just wanna kind of shape it in a round formation, just the same thing that we did as before. And that's it. You don't want to pop the air bubbles, you want to keep it very light as well. So at this point, what I like to do is actually invert the dough just on its side, where it's upside down, because what we're going to do is we're going to flip the bowl over and then we're going to place the bread in like this in the oven. So that's the way I like to do it, and that's the way I recommend you do it as well. So we're going to add flour at this point because we're not going to incorporate any more flour or fold any more. We're just dusting it so that it's easier to pick up once it's done proofing. So let's cover it and let it rest for another 30 minutes to an hour. In the meantime, I want to have some fun and try and do a flatbread. Now I'm just going to add some flour, stretch it out just like I would a pizza dough. Make sure it's all even and we can add it straight to the fire. In the meantime, we wait. All right. There it is. It looks about ready. Ooh, that's hot. And let's try it out. Yeah, she's cooked. You can see that salt bush in there. Let's try it. Oh. Oh. Mmm. Mmm. All that hard work paid off. So good. So we got the final proof done. So you can see it's raised up quite a bit, about almost pretty much double, which is what you're looking for. Now I'm just gonna flour my hands, flour the sides a bit. You wanna be really gentle, and let's walk over to the fire. So that's our oven. Now, like I said, we're gonna loosen the edges so we're not pulling on the bread when we take it out. Let's make sure we got flour on all sides. So I'll invert it. All right, and then we're gonna just score it a bit. Just make a few cuts and let it sit for about 30 minutes. It should be ready. So it's been about 40 minutes. Check it out. That looks wonderful. So you know when it's ready when the bread comes off away from the sides. So it has. So I'm gonna take it off the heat and then we're gonna slice it once it's absolutely cool. So now we got our raisin and cinnamon bread, and I'm not gonna score this one. I'm just gonna gently remove the sides, place it in the pot, and then that should be about 20 minutes. So we finally let the bread cool down after a lot of anticipation. I can't wait to open this up.
Me too.
This is the Italian style sourdough with the Biga method with the raisin cinnamon bun. And I have Chiara here. She's from Northern Italy, born and raised. So she's gonna do the honors and try the bread.
Whoa.
That is a nice texture bread. So soft, but chewy.
Approved.
So good. So I've been making bread for over 14 years, and as well as in the culinary industry and pastry industry. So I want to give you guys all the knowledge that I know. I'm gonna put up some of the new recipes online. Subscribe to the channel to keep updated so you can learn all the cool stuff that we do.